Hello everyone, welcome to Chessvisor, your wise choice to improve your chess. Let's talk about this game played between Anish Giri and Nihal Sarin, and it was from chess.com's Speed Chess Championship Blitz section, game number 5. So before we go into this game, if you are watching this channel for the first time, please consider subscribing to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos. So here Anish opens the game with 1 e4 and Nihal goes with the move c6 and it's a Karakhan defense. So it's a solid idea against the e4 opening. And we have d4 gaining more space and hitting the center with the d5. e5, it's an advanced variation of the Karakhan now. So bishop f5, putting the bishop out of the pawn chain. And after knight f3 is going to close the pawn chain. It's a very good, that's why it is called actually the solid structure or solid pawn structure for the Karakhan. Whereas when you play the French, it is not going to happen like this because you will be having the bad bishop on the c8 square. But now this is now out of the pawn chain, and even if you exchange it, it is no problem because you have a very good hold on the light squares. And in this position actually it is called after knight f3 it is called short variation of the advanced variation of the Karakhan. So we have bishop e2, knight d7, we have castles by Anish Giri, and now we have bishop g6 paving the way for the king's knight. So c3, in case if black advances with the move like a c5 later, and you will not have to worry about that idea. So knight h6, trying to put the knight on f5 this way, and here white has the option to simply capture the knight. It is not that useful for white if he captures, so because he's going to lose the bishop pair in the opening itself. And not only that, it is going to open up the g file, and black may try to attack the king via the g file using the rook. So here he goes a4, gaining more space. A very typical idea in this kind of setup. So gaining more space on the queen side, and it should be stopped with the move a5. And we have knight b d2, f6. It's a earlier pawn break. Instead of that, Nihal had the option to push the c5 also, but that is not going to help him that much. So he goes for the king side attack. I think earlier, if he breaks the f6 pawn, and then you'll be able to double the things on the f file, so that you can put pressure on the king side immediately. And actually that's what happened in the game also. So here after e takes f6, we have not knight takes f6 but queen takes f6. In this position actually Anish Giri played the move knight b3, but it is better to put the queen on b3 to put pressure on the b7 pawn. But in the game he played knight b3, and now we have another remaundering knight f7. So what actually Nihal is doing is very, very important here, and we can also implement in our own games. The thing is adding more attacker or more defenders to, I should say, I think it is attacker, because we have dominating that square on e4 e5, right? So he is adding more and more attacker to that square, so that you will be able to push that backward pawn to the center and liquidate it, and have a very good position with the semi-open file and the open file on the e file. So that's the idea of putting the knight back to f7 to add more control over that square. We have bishop e3, bishop d6, adding one more attacker, and now queen d2, and now comes the move castling. And thanks to that f7 knight, so that your queen is stable on f6. So rook a e1. So if you look at Anish position, it's all these pieces are gathered in the center, as well as on the slightly, I would say that it is on the king side. So I think he's also trying to put some pressure on the king side. But the thing is, already Nihal has the f file open, and also all of his pieces are pointing on the king side already. So let's see, h6 preventing any knight's move or bishop's move in case if f7 knight goes somewhere. So queen to d1, and here he goes with the move b6. The idea is very simple. He wants to involve the rook into the game. h3, just he is waiting actually. What is that Nihal is going to do? He is like waiting for his response. So he played the move rook a e8 now, and after rook a e8, actually with the h3 idea, Anish Giri plays the move knight h2, remaneuvering the knight to g4 square to attack the queen, because the queen's post looks very aggressive, right? So he goes e5. Okay, he completely ignores that idea because he wants to liquidate the weakness, and then he will be able to attack white's king very without any much problem, right? So knight g4 hitting the queen h4. Actually I thought, okay, the queen is going to retreat back, but the thing is Nihal putting the queen into the white's camp now with the queen h4 move. D takes e5, and now we have the critical position already in the game. It is 20th move, and here Nihal simply captured the pawn with the move knight f takes e5. And here the b3 knight looks out of the game, so he simply brings the knight back into the game. It's the 20th move now. Here he plays the move bishop e4. It's a provoking move, kind of provoking, because it provokes the move f3 and it will create some kind of weakness on the dark square. So that's the idea of putting the bishop on e4. And here one more thing is that in this position actually there is only one move to save, or to maintain the equality from white's perspective, because a great attack is about to come here. So it's just 20th move as I was mentioning, and in the next 7 moves the game is going to end. So let's see. And in this position actually Anish Giri simply takes the knight with the move knight takes e5, and it was a blitz game. You cannot think like a machine in a blitz, right? And even in chess.com's what do you say, game of the day analysis, they said even if it is a classical format, even a grandmaster could not find the right continuation in this position, they said. I would like to point out that quickly. So going back in this position, the right way to continue the position is to simply sacrifice the knight on c6. Why it is so? Because if you take the knight here, as you can see, all of your 3 minor pieces are gathered together, and not only that, all are actually undefended. And now comes the move f3, hitting the bishop, and you simply retreat the bishop, and your pieces are going to fall with a check. First queen takes d5 check, and then bishop f7, you can take on d6, and again your one of the 2 pieces are hanging. So going back in this position, okay, if you don't retreat the bishop, then you may try this move, that is knight c e5. In this case, bishop f2 can be played, and you can put the bishop on c5, and then the game can continue. It's very difficult to spot these ideas because it's like engine moves. So going back in the game, and Anish goes with the move knight takes e5. And after knight takes e5, Nihal plays the move knight takes e5. What's the problem with this move? It's very simple. Okay, g4 knight was very critical knight. It was centralized, and it was a very important piece for a defending purpose. And now, as you can see, his useless knight on which was on d7, now it is centralized, and it is coming on to the king side for the attack. And in this position, actually he plays the move f3. Instead of that, he could have tried bishop g4 idea, but that was not happen in the game. So he played f3, simply putting pressure on the bishop. And now you are going to pause the video and spot the brilliant move by Nihal Sarin. And here in this position actually his bishop is under attack, but now he puts another piece into the attack with the move knight g4. You can have two of my pieces, but in return he is going to have your king. That's the point of playing this move knight g4. That's why it's a brilliant move. In this position, I would like to highlight 2 variations very quickly. One is already played in the game, and another one is what will happen if we take the bishop for free. So the thing is, we can take on e3. That's the plan. And you may be wondering, okay, I can simply exchange the rooks with a check, right? So what's the problem? So after rook takes f8, the thing is f2 is hanging. That's the issue. After f2, g2 is hanging, and that's mate. If you save the queen like this, then you are gone in 2 moves. So going back in this position, he tried other move, that is f takes g4. And what's the problem now? And here it is not important to sacrifice the knight, but also in each and every sacrifice, the first move you may be able to spot it very quickly. The thing is, the follow-up is very, very important, and it's only one move to continue the attack, that is bishop takes g2. Another great move here. So what's the plan? If you simply take it, that's mate in 2. So queen g3, king h1, queen h2 is a mate. So going back in this position, actually he played the move rook takes f8, and actually that is not going to change anything in the position, or the threats are going to remain same. After rook takes f8, we have knight f5. He is simply blocking the rook's idea, but the thing is, he can actually go capturing on h3, threatening mate actually. But in the game, he played rook takes f5. Another we can call it as a brilliant move also, but simply removing one of the defenders here, or the blockaders. In this position, say for example, if you capture on h3, that is also playable. Let's say one random move like this. Since the rook is covering the f file, it's very simple mate, queen h1. So going back, after knight f5, rook takes f5, and g takes f5. In this position, actually after queen g3, threatening queen to h2, and then all sorts of mate is coming. It is not that queen h2 is mate. We are going to give some discoveries and then deliver the mate. So in this position, actually Anish Giri resigning. What a game by Nihal Sarin. And In case if you are wondering what will happen if we continue the game, let's say you play bishop f4 threatening the queen. So that's just delaying the inevitable thing. So bishop takes f4, bishop f3, then bishop takes f3, discovered check, and after king f1 it's mate in 1. So queen g2 is a mate. So that's why, considering this quick idea, Anish Giri, after queen g3 he resigned the game. And throughout this matchup there were so many brilliant moves played by both of them. And in the end, actually Nihal Sarin was keeping the edge over the blitz section. Throughout the blitz section he was having the upper hand, and in the bullet section Anish was able to bounce back, but the thing is there was no time but in the end Nihal Sarin simply won the matchup. So what do you think about this game? Let me know your ideas, thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Still, if you are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, please consider subscribing to the channel and press the bell icon to get notified for the future videos, and don't forget to share with others. And as usual, this is Chess Visor, your wise choice to improve your chess.